sorry. I did not mean to be creepy in any way. I just wanted to be a nice person.
And this is chasing my dreams. It's always been a passion of mine. Filming with friends, going on long adventures. It's really fun.
Dylan Zippe shot to fame with harmless, cringy TikTok clips. And his viewers laughed, then shared and obsessed over his videos. However, his success was only for a limited period, because when the allegations of trapping minors hit, screenshots, accusations, and timelines tore his image apart. He deleted his TikTok account before enough proof spread over the internet.
Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe you never get it all. Maybe I'm too emotional.
Then he showed up on Instagram and YouTube with a new style, calm nature shots, smooth edits, and peaceful videos, instead of the clips that made him famous. Is this growth, or a retreat in disguise? And somewhere between what he was and what he's trying to be now, the question remains: how long can the internet let the past stay buried? It started like 100 other whisper campaigns on social media. A name, a few screenshots, a warning passed around in DMs that a popular creator wasn't who he claimed to be. At first it seemed like random gossip, but multiple independent users shared similar screenshots and stories, creating a clear pattern. Even decoy accounts reporting inappropriate conversations made it impossible to dismiss as mere drama. Thus, in the following year, by mid-2023, Dylan Zippe, better known online by his handle, Dylan Zippe, wasn't just a TikTok star. He was the name on every gossip page, Reddit thread, and YouTube commentary channel. His face, once associated with harmless POV skits and awkwardly sweet dance videos, was suddenly switched to words like predator. The same cheerful young man who had lip-synced his way into over 400,000 followers was now at the center of a TikTok scandal involving alleged messages to underage girls, graphic photos and conversations with girls and fans as young as 13 and 14 who were bewitched by his charms. The situation worsened when some accounts suggested it had been going on for years, long before his follower count spiked. At first, Dylan reacted like many influencers facing backlash. He avoided addressing the claims. Then he turned off comments entirely, leaving fans even more suspicious and fueling questions about what he was trying to hide. I'm just asking that if he doesn't care at the hate he gets, then why did he turn the comments off, huh? But Dylan failed to realize that TikTok isn't a forgiving platform, and the crowd doesn't wait for courts or official statements. Armchair detectives began comparing the alleged messages to Dylan's own content, and then they found something very interesting. A hoodie visible in one leaked snap matched one he wore in a live stream that same week. A neon light glowing faintly in the corner of a photo looked identical to the setup in his bedroom TikToks. Even the paint on a wall lined up.
I love it when you call me señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't.
Individually, none of these details proved anything. Together, they told a story many no longer doubted. The mood shifted from maybe this is fake to this looks real almost overnight. Threads that had started with cautious curiosity turned into angry exposés. One says, "The confidence that this guy has is out of this world. He's the type that deserves to be told the harsh truth to his face." Other commented, "This Dylan TikTok guy is still trying to approach 13-year-olds after getting caught. Multiple times is crazy." But then came the apology.
I just want to say I'm sorry.
It wasn't a press release. It wasn't a polished apology with cinematic lighting or a slick soundtrack. Instead, it was abrupt, raw, Dylan alone, peering anxiously into his phone's front camera. There was no production crew or frame backdrop, just the washed-out room and a boy who looked unmoored. His voice wavered as he spoke, conveying vulnerability, but viewers felt something was off. Some said he appeared more surprised at being caught than genuinely sorrowful. He didn't mince words. Yes, he admitted to messaging minors, but his phrasing clung to excuses. He insisted he hadn't meant to be creepy, and claimed he never knew the recipients' ages. The sincerity in his delivery, many critics argued, was undermined by the casualness of his tone, like explaining a misunderstanding, not owning a grave mistake. He asked for forgiveness. He pleaded not to be harassed anymore.
I did not mean to be creepy in any way. I did not know that she was 14.
But the digital courtroom was already in session. As soon as the video dropped, viewers paused and replayed. They scrutinized every blink, syllable, and shift in gaze. Did he genuinely look remorseful or merely resigned? If his intentions were innocent, why send suggestive content in the first place? If ignorance were real, Why hadn't he paused to ask ages? And the sting operation, someone posing as a 14-year-old who, according to texts, was allegedly met with matching advances, made the entire "I didn't know" defense even harder to swallow.
So you think you can have me?
I mean, couldn't I?
Oh,
Yes or no?
yes.
In that moment, and in the minds of most, this apology didn't soften the backlash. It intensified it, crystallizing a narrative that Dylan's words were just another layer in the wreckage. His attempt to extinguish the fire only threw gasoline on the flames. In his next videos on other platforms like YouTube, viewers commented harshly, pointing out his history. One by one, more allegations surfaced. Another girl, 13 at the time, claimed he'd sent inappropriate messages, while a third claimed he'd asked for explicit photos. Screenshots of Instagram stories placed Dylan at high school football fields long after graduation, raising questions about why a 20-year-old would linger in teenage spaces. Commentary channels started weighing in. One name that surfaced early was Anna Oop, a creator known for breaking down internet scandals. Her video summarized the allegations, dissected them piece by piece, with timestamps, screenshots, and cross-references. But while her breakdown framed the situation for a wider audience, another far more serious thread emerged quietly. An anonymous decoy account, unaffiliated with any commentary creator, claimed it had intentionally reached out to Dylan as part of a sting-style test. According to what that account later published, the conversation began casually with neutral topics, before the decoy identified herself as being underage, not vaguely, but explicitly. What followed, the posts alleged, was chilling in its clarity. Instead of disengaging, Dylan continued the conversation, and not with caution. The tone reportedly shifted, becoming flirtatious, suggestive, and then, if the shared screenshots are accurate, openly sexual. The messages, once public, were picked apart in group chats, Discord servers, and TikTok stitch chains, with viewers highlighting timestamps and emojis like evidence tags in a trial. For many, this wasn't speculation anymore. It was, if authentic, a direct transcript of behavior that undercut every claim of ignorance or misunderstanding Dylan had offered publicly. For those who don't know, he's a predator. He sends inappropriate messages to 14-year-olds, and he's around 20 years old. What made the spiral so explosive wasn't just the nature of the allegations, but the pace at which they compounded. One video exposing Dylan would hit 100,000 views. Hours later, another creator would post a new batch of screenshots. Fans who had unfollowed in disgust would return not to support him, but to watch the train wreck unfold in real time. In a matter of days, a career built over years was being dismantled post by post, stitch by stitch. Meanwhile, the institutional response was silence. TikTok didn't immediately ban him. Instagram didn't deactivate his profile. Police made no public statement. This absence of formal action poured gasoline on the discourse. If no one in authority was stepping in, online audiences felt obligated to act as judge, jury, and amplifier. Hashtags calling for Dylan's ban spread. Some users posted their apology video with sarcastic captions. Others expressed fear, not just for the alleged victims, but for what the scandal revealed about the fragility of trust in online communities. The fact that the police haven't talked about this is just disgusting. By now, Dylan had deleted some accounts and wiped sections of his content, but traces remained. His main Instagram and YouTube accounts stayed active, even as comments filled with disgust. The digital record couldn't be fully erased. Screenshots had traveled too far, copied and re-uploaded across platforms. Every deletion felt to critics like an admission, every silence like confirmation. Adding yet another layer, another person claimed he'd known Dylan. He alleged that Dylan's behavior wasn't new at all, that Dylan had been messaging girls far younger than himself and had been desperate to get a girl. I've actually met Dylan Zippe and even texted him at one point. He was always really desperate to get a girl and even wanted to meet up with me when he knew I had a boyfriend, his friend. Bizarre to think he would actually go this far. According to one account, concerned creators had even contacted Dylan's parents years earlier, hoping they'd intervene. The parents, he said, did make Dylan deactivate his account back then, but once Dylan moved out, the behavior allegedly resumed. If true, this timeline painted the scandal not as a sudden lapse, but as a pattern, one that stretched back years, survived parental intervention, and now operated at a larger, riskier scale thanks to Dylan's fame. Of course, in the chaos of social media, claims stack on claims. Some might be exaggerated, some might be misremembered. What remained constant, though, was the volume. Too many screenshots, too many overlapping accounts, too much consistency in the way stories aligned from people who had never met each other, and crucially, no meaningful rebuttal from Dylan beyond that single shaky apology. The online world thrives on moral clarity, heroes and villains, innocence or guilt. But this story refused to resolve. Law enforcement hadn't acted. Platforms hadn't removed him. There was no official confirmation of criminal charges, no courtroom verdict to point to. And in that vacuum, the collective verdict of the internet hardened. Whether or not Dylan ever faced a judge, in the court of public opinion, he was finished. What made this scandal feel different wasn't just its content, but its implication. It asked painful questions. How many other creators operate unchecked? How many other parasocial relationships mask dangerous power dynamics? How many young fans, eager for attention from someone they admire, are vulnerable to exploitation before anyone notices? By the time Dylan stopped posting, his name had become shorthand for a warning, not just of one individual's alleged actions, but of a system that elevates people before asking whether they should be elevated at all. The scandal didn't just erupt, it metastasized, spreading beyond Dylan into every corner of the influencer economy, forcing audiences, brands, and platforms to confront an uncomfortable truth. Trust online is fragile, and fame can hide rot until it's too late. Even as Dylan Zippe's controversies gained traction online, a noticeable pocket of fans never turned on him. Scroll through his TikTok comments and you'll still see hearts, emojis, and cringy compliments stacked right beneath videos where others are demanding accountability. One commented, "Zippe is so cute." Others says, "Bro, how many 13-year-olds were there?" It's a strange split. While some are dissecting allegations, others are focused entirely on how cute he looks, how he didn't do anything wrong, or simply spamming "I'd still date you," as if the surrounding drama doesn't exist. This kind of loyalty isn't unusual in influencer culture. Many fans invest emotionally in a creator, so when controversy hits, they double down. Some don't care about the details at all. They treat every scandal like background noise to their parasocial crush. Others take a defensive stance, framing Dylan as misunderstood or even as a victim of haters and jealous people trying to bring him down. The result is a comment section that feels almost disconnected from reality. You'll find people asking for accountability and others replying with flirty one-liners and GIFs. "I love you, Dylan. You are my heart." It's jarring, a reminder that in the influencer world, its perception often outweighs facts. And while the louder side of the internet focuses on receipts, timelines, and contradictions, this devoted slice of his audience quietly keeps him afloat, not with arguments or logic, but with unwavering attention, affection, and a willingness to ignore everything else. In the attention economy, that alone can keep a creator relevant, no matter the controversy. Before the scandal, Dylan Zippe wasn't a renowned name, but in certain corners of TikTok, he was impossible to miss. Known simply as Dylan, he built a following not with skits, pranks, or polished edits, but with a brand of cringe-adjacent charm that struck a chord with teens. His early videos often featured him lip-syncing to trending audio, smirking at the camera, or leaning into that flirty, eye-contact-heavy style that turns harmless short videos into parasocial bait. He wasn't a comedian, not really a dancer, and not a vlogger in the traditional sense. Dylan was, above all, a TikTok crush.
You're beautiful. But I'm really into blondes. Later.
The audience demographic told the story. Most of his followers were under 20, a mix of young girls and queer teens who found comfort, or at least entertainment, in his soft boy, sometimes awkward, sometimes confident persona. He looked approachable. Not like a Hollywood star, but like the cute guy from the next town over who posts too often and seems just reachable enough to make liking his videos feel personal. This was the machine TikTok had perfected. Micro-celebrities who didn't feel famous, just accessible. Dylan's growth pattern was typical for someone in that lane. He hit small milestones quickly, a few viral audios, duets with mid-tier creators, and occasional shout-outs from mutuals. He posted multiple times a day, often with the same formula: a close-up, a smirk, sometimes a wink, maybe a short reply to a thirsty comment, and people responded. Comments piled up. They weren't deep conversations, but they didn't have to be. The loop was complete. Creator posts, audience flirts, creator responds with a little more charm, and the cycle feeds itself.
Try to get you out the friend zone, 'cause you're lucky you're better than the photos. I can't find your house, send me the info.
Parasocial relationships form quickly in that environment. For some viewers, Dylan was the guy who replied to their comment, liked their stitch, or used the sound they suggested. That illusion of intimacy is powerful. Fans built small fantasies around him, projecting personality traits onto short clips, interpreting glances, smiles, or captions as signs of connection. In TikTok's rapid-fire feed, this micro-attention feels like winning a lottery ticket, and winning it repeatedly makes the person on screen feel like a part of your life, even when you've never met. That's why, when allegations surfaced, they didn't land in a vacuum. They hit a crowd emotionally invested in Dylan as both a performer and a perceived friend. For outsiders, the story was simple. Another influencer accused of messaging minors. For his core fan base, it was a betrayal that didn't compute. The friendly crush who made flirty videos, now accused of predatory behavior. Some immediately unfollowed, disgusted. Others doubled down, defending him, pointing to his awkward demeanor, arguing he wouldn't know how to harm anyone intentionally. The emotional weight came not just from the nature of the allegations, but from the collision between fantasy and reality. The TikTok crush had become a public villain. Even before the scandal, Dylan's content drew criticism for being cringy. Entire threads existed mocking his style, the camera angles, the dramatic pauses, the overly rehearsed, candid smirks. Reaction videos dissected his thirst traps, calling them uncomfortable, weird, or embarrassing. But in the TikTok ecosystem, cringe is currency. Hate watches count as engagement. Duets mocking a creator often boost their visibility, and people who initially find someone annoying sometimes become fans by sheer exposure. Dylan leaned into it, occasionally joking about how people made fun of him, but mostly, he stayed on brand. The smirks kept coming, the subtle lip bites, the suggestive replies. For better or worse, it worked. The pattern also meant that Dylan's visibility wasn't limited to fans. He existed in that middle internet zone where you could be widely mocked and widely adored at the same time. It's the kind of fame that feels fragile, one scandal away from collapse, yet oddly durable because controversy itself feeds the algorithm. By the time the allegations started gaining traction, Dylan wasn't just a TikToker. He was a known entity in commentary circles, a name that guaranteed clicks whether you loved him or hated him. Anyone remember that really cringe POV kid who'd post thirst traps? He got exposed for messaging minors. I've heard stories about him and how weird he is. I'm just posting this because I'm surprised no one else has brought him up in this sub. That context made the downfall sharper. This wasn't a random person exposed overnight. This was someone people had watched for months or years, someone who had become part of daily scrolling routines. When screenshots, sting operations, and call-out videos began circulating, the shift was immediate and brutal. Former fans flooded his comments with anger and disgust. Others posted sad, conflicted TikToks, mourning the versions of Dylan they thought they knew. And a small but loud group refused to let go, insisting the internet was wrong, that he was misunderstood, or simply choosing to ignore the scandal entirely. In a sense, Dylan's rise and fall encapsulate a bigger truth about influencer culture. Fame built on parasocial intimacy makes allegations feel personal, not just scandalous. Fans grieve, critics gloat, and the creator at the center is both villain and victim, depending on which corner of the internet you stand in. Dylan's cringy charm, the very thing that made him popular, became evidence for both sides. Proof of innocence to some, proof of immaturity and poor judgment to others. And that's where the conversation widens. Dylan's story is just one in a growing list of influencer implosions that highlight the fragility of internet fame. The TikTok problem isn't just about individuals behaving badly, it's structural. The platform rewards speed, visibility, and emotional hooks, but it has almost no meaningful vetting. Anyone with a ring light, a half-decent camera, and a sense of timing can hit 1 million followers in months. That same immediacy that fuels discovery also removes barriers that, in traditional media, once protected audiences. There's no studio executive, no PR handler, no HR department, just a direct line between creator and crowd. And when that line frays, the fallout is brutal. Platforms, to their credit, are trying. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch have all rolled out more aggressive policies on harassment and safety, but policies are only as effective as their enforcement, and algorithms can't judge context, intent, or nuance. A video flagged for inappropriate behavior might stay up for days. An innocent clip might get removed instantly. Worse, fame often acts as a shield. High engagement creators sometimes get slower penalties or private warnings, leaving fans to piece together rumors and screenshots while platforms quietly negotiate damage control. The unevenness breeds mistrust, not just of the influencer, but of the entire ecosystem. Historically, this cycle isn't new. YouTube in the mid-2000s had its share of scandals, beloved vloggers exposed for predatory behavior, meet and greets tainted by exploitation, and gaming stars caught in manipulation or fraud. The names change, the format evolves, but the beats remain. Rapid rise, parasocial loyalty, scandal, denial, and eventual cultural shorthand. Today's Dylan Zippe is yesterday's Shane Dawson controversy, Logan Paul's implosion, or James Charles' repeated cycles of apology and return. Each incident chips away at the illusion that popularity equates to safety or trustworthiness. The psychological cost is highest for young fans. For many, These creators fill social or emotional gaps, companionship during lonely nights, inspiration to pursue art or fashion, even a perceived safe space and away from offline chaos. When that space fractures, it isn't just disappointing, it's destabilizing. Fans often cycle through denial, anger, and grief, mirroring patterns found in personal breakups or betrayals. Some turn their hurt outward, attacking victims or whistleblowers. Others internalize it, quietly questioning their own judgment or worse, their worth for believing in someone now vilified. The parasocial engine amplifies this damage. Unlike celebrities in film or music, influencers are perceived as accessible. They read comments, reply to DMs, and sometimes remember usernames. This illusion of closeness is potent. When an influencer like Dylan is accused of predatory or exploitative behavior, the betrayal feels intimate, as if a friend crossed a line rather than a distant star. The emotional stakes make rational processing harder. What should be an evaluation of facts becomes a referendum on loyalty, identity, and community. And then there's the ripple effect. Each implosion sets precedents, for better and worse. Platforms face pressure to respond faster, sometimes at the expense of due process. Critics weaponize scandals as proof of entire demographics being dangerous, ignoring nuance. Meanwhile, other creators recalibrate. Some take extra care to safeguard boundaries and reputations. Others, emboldened by seeing peers survive controversies, treat scandal as a growth tactic. What emerges is an accountability crisis. The infrastructure of social media wasn't designed for the weight it now carries. Billions of users, millions of creators, a constantly refreshing feed, all governed by opaque algorithms and inconsistent human oversight. The result is a culture where trust is both the currency and the first casualty. Fans demand transparency, but platforms rarely deliver it. Creators promise honesty, but survival instincts often push them into half-truths or strategic silences. To fix it would require uncomfortable collaboration, platforms investing in proactive vetting and responsive moderation, creators accepting higher standards and clearer boundaries, audiences learning to separate entertainment from intimacy. Until then, the cycle will repeat. A rotating cast of Dylans, each one briefly the main character of the internet before the next rise, the next fall, the next fracture in the digital trust we keep rebuilding even when we know better. And as Dylan's story shifts from active scandal to cultural footnote, the question lingers, not whether there will be another case, but how prepared any of us will be when it happens again. But as the noise of the scandal faded from mainstream feeds, a quieter, stranger reality emerged. Dylan never fully disappeared. He didn't double down with defiance, nor did he vanish into offline obscurity. Instead, he drifted sideways, not gone, but repositioned. In the weeks following the controversy, Dylan wiped much of his TikTok content, leaving behind a near-empty account that once fueled his rise. He stopped appearing in the kind of videos that had originally made him a crush for thousands of viewers. Gone were the POV clips, the soft smile thirst traps, the awkward lip syncs that his fan base once clung to. In their place, brief, muted uploads, scenic shots, edited clips of sunsets, city streets, forests after rain. His profile now felt less like a creator courting attention, and more like a digital scrapbook. Those who kept track noticed something else, a shift in platform priority. Dylan began promoting his Instagram and YouTube pages more often, adding links, subtle references, and soft pushes for viewers to follow him elsewhere.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big content creator one day, but I have no supporters. So if you have the chance, please subscribe.
On Instagram, his grid transformed into a mosaic of aesthetic photography, moody landscapes, and minimal captions. On YouTube, short, polished edits appeared with slices of nature and urban life. It was a rebrand without announcement, a quiet retreat from the personal into the abstract. Legally, no charges surfaced. Despite the allegations, the public evidence, screenshots, and sting operations, the emotional case never converted into an official criminal case, at least not publicly. Without legal consequences, his situation settled into a gray space familiar to internet culture, widely condemned socially, but untouched institutionally. He wasn't banned from platforms outright. He wasn't sued. He wasn't in court. He was simply a name that triggered disgust in some circles and curiosity in others. Culturally, Dylan became a warning, not just about predatory behavior, but about the volatility of internet fame. His name surfaced in memes, usually derisive, sometimes darkly comedic. TikTok threads referenced him as shorthand for the guy who blew it all. Creators used his arc and commentary videos dissecting parasocial trust, platform responsibility, and fan denial. He became a reference point, A story of how a seemingly harmless, even boring content creator could hide behavior that shattered the illusion of safety between influencer and audience. At the same time, a small but vocal group of supporters lingered. They populated fan pages, left comments under his new aesthetic posts, and even defended his rebrand as proof of change. They reframed his quiet shift not as running from guilt, but as growth. A creator who had been burned, learned, and now simply wanted to share beauty without controversy. Whether this was denial, forgiveness, or a strategic loyalty didn't matter much in algorithmic terms. Engagement is engagement. Speculation over his future quietly brews in the background. Could he ever return to the scale of his pre-scandal reach? Probably not in the same way. Trust once broken in such a public and ethically charged context rarely returns intact. Any attempt to re-enter the personality-driven TikTok sphere would drag the past forward immediately. Every new video would be stitched, commented on, and reframed in light of what happened. He knows it. His content choices suggest as much. The landscapes and edits serve as both shield and signal. He's not coming back as that Dylan, but he's not ready to disappear either. Yet the internet has a short memory when it wants to. If enough time passes, if the platforms don't act, if enough new scandals replace the old, there's a world in which someone like Dylan could quietly grow again, not to his old fan base, but to a new one, unaware or indifferent to the name attached to the content. Already some of his aesthetic edits circulate without attribution. They get reposted on mood boards, repurposed into background clips. In that stripped-down context, he's no longer Dylan Zippe, the disgraced TikTok crush. He's just another anonymous source of pretty visuals.
Probably not, bro. Probably not, you know what I'm saying? Like, no cap, for real? Probably not.
This possibility raises uncomfortable questions. What does redemption look like in cases like this, where the actions didn't rise to provable criminality but carried serious moral weight? Is there a path for rebuilding trust, or is obscurity the only responsible outcome? And who gets to decide when someone is done? The audience, the platforms, or the passage of time itself? For now, Dylan exists in limbo, not forgiven, not forgotten, but no longer a headline. His online presence hums quietly beneath the noise, neither viral nor invisible. It's the internet's middle space, where controversy ages into a cautionary tale, and the person at the center either rebuilds in silence, or waits for a culture shift big enough to let them back in. And as his story edges toward that uncertain horizon, the next question looms. What the internet does with Dylan Zippe next might say less about him and more about us. In the aftermath of Dylan Zippe's fall from grace, the internet is left with more questions than answers. This isn't just about one creator making terrible decisions. It's about the environment that let him thrive, the platforms that rewarded charm over character, and the audiences, some of them painfully young, who felt personally connected to someone they never truly knew. It's a case study in how charisma, even when awkward or cringy, can override instinct, logic, and red flags. This story forces us to look inward. The internet has made celebrities out of ordinary people at an unprecedented speed, but when influence can be built in weeks, what safeguards exist when it crumbles? Platforms like TikTok are built to amplify what's engaging, not necessarily what's safe. Audiences often see only what creators want them to see, carefully chosen angles, jokes, edits, and curated authenticity. But behind every screen is a person capable of failure, misconduct, or worse. And the unanswered questions here are uncomfortable. How much responsibility should platforms take when creators misuse their influence? Should fan communities self-police? Or is that asking too much of teenagers and casual viewers who only came for entertainment? When the next Dylan Zippe emerges, someone who gains rapid popularity and access to vulnerable fans, what do we, as a culture, do differently? Do we slow down? Do we teach media literacy earlier? Or do we continue to scroll, comment, and contribute to a cycle that inevitably repeats itself? And maybe the hardest question of all, why do some fans still stay? Is it denial, hope for redemption, or proof that attention, even from a diminished fan base, can still keep a creator alive in the algorithm, prolonging harm and delaying accountability? This isn't a story with a clean ending. Dylan's future online remains uncertain. Platforms could ban him permanently, but others may give him space to rebuild. Some audiences will forget, others will forgive. The internet, after all, rarely moves in one moral direction for long, but every headline like this is a warning shot. A reminder that trust online should be earned slowly, not given instantly. As viewers, as users, as a community, the challenge ahead is clear. We have to balance openness with caution, enthusiasm with skepticism, and entertainment with responsibility. Not every viral smile deserves your trust. Not every popular creator is safe. If you care about internet culture, accountability, and the safety of online spaces, stick with us. We dive deep into the stories others glance past, asking the questions that matter before the next controversy hits. Subscribe, join the conversation, and let's make the next chapter of the internet a little safer, a little smarter, and a lot less naive.